Today's story is about my friend Ryan. A few days ago, he shared this story with me from California, USA. With his permission, I'm sharing it with you today. Watch until the end, because this story proves that success is the strongest answer to humiliation. When I was in high school, I pretended to be poor. My father was a successful businessman, but he wanted me to understand how the world treats people who have nothing. So I wore old clothes, cheap shoes, and carried a worn-out school bag. On my first day, everyone stared at me. Some students laughed. Others refused to sit beside me. During lunch, I always ate alone. Every day, someone made fun of my clothes or my shoes. 3 months passed like that. Then I fell in love with a girl in my class. One afternoon, I finally gathered the courage to tell her how I felt. She looked at me, laughed loudly, and said, "Ryan, you're poor. I would never date someone like you." The entire classroom burst into laughter. One boy even pushed my school bag onto the floor. I quietly picked it up, smiled, and walked away without saying a single word. That night, my father asked me, "Did you learn what you needed to learn?" I smiled and replied, "Yes." Now I'll let time answer. Then, the next morning was our school's annual achievement ceremony. My father arrived at the school after being invited as the chief guest. He came in a luxury car with his security team, because he was the CEO of one of California's biggest companies. When he stepped onto the stage, the principal introduced him. Then my father smiled and said, "Before I begin my speech, I'd like to call my son onto the stage." The entire hall became silent. I slowly stood up. Everyone looked at me in complete shock. The same students who laughed at me couldn't believe their eyes. The girl who rejected me lowered her head in embarrassment. My father put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Money can buy comfort, but character cannot be bought. That's why I asked my son to live like an ordinary student." After the ceremony, the same girl came to me with tears in her eyes and said, "Ryan, I'm sorry. I judged you without knowing who you really were." I smiled politely and replied, "You didn't reject my money. You rejected my character." Then I wished her a happy life and walked away. I didn't need revenge, because the truth had already spoken louder than my words. Moral: never judge a person by their clothes, money, or appearance. Real value is found in character, not wealth.